Agreed. Greetings and salutations. The universe is just doomed. 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 Doomed.
Welcome back.
Happy Easter.
Yes, he is risen.
We are bringing you Stigmata.
Oh, Stigmata.
It's me, Nicole.
And me, Tessa.
And Liana is here. Father Liana is here.
Father Liana. Oh, Father, Son, and Father Liana.
It's not on the 25th anniversary, but it's been 25 years since this movie came out.
1999.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I went and saw this in the theater.
Yeah,
in fact,
I'm pretty sure
I think
I
I
did.
know where my ticket. I have this ticket for when I saw it. I could tell you the exact date once I find that ticket.
Ooh.
That I went to see Stigmata.
I don't remember the exact date, but
I don't remember
90% sure I saw this in the theater.
I'm sure.
It's the right era for when I was going to the theater all the time.
Definitely. Those few years. I went there a lot.
And we don't have any new patrons. I don't have any beginning of
dusty and dry.
Am I wrong? Hold on.
Am I wrong?
We don't have a new patron, but I forgot to check my notes, of course, because I do.
Because I
do. Nothing to say.
Dusty and dry. The cupboard is bare. Huh?
Yep. So let's get into the cast.
All right, let's do it. We got Patricia Arquette of the Arquettes.
Starring her snaggletooth as Frankie Paige.
Frankie Paige. We have Gabriel Byrne as Father Andrew Kiernan.
Nia Long as Donna Chadway.
Portia de Rossi as Jennifer
random.
Killiho.
With little dreadlocks.
I know. That's just what you had. We'll discuss this hair.
Oh, everybody's got the hair.
The hair.
All the girls, anyway, have the
definitely.
hair. Jonathan Pryce as Cardinal Daniel Houseman.
Yeah.
I don't know why that doesn't. It strikes me as not a cardinal's name, but what do I know?
No, I mean, I don't know. He also doesn't look like a Jonathan Pryce to me. He looks like a fucking asshole to me.
This poor dude is probably super nice, but I've hated him in I think everything I've seen him in.
Pretty much.
He was
except
the Baron,
for like Evita.
He was the Baron Munchausen guy, right? He was the bad guy in Baron Munchausen.
Uh-huh.
And what else were we just talking about that we hated him in before?
Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah, Game of Thrones.
He was an asshole in that, too.
Mm-hmm.
He got what he deserved.
One of them faces.
I know. And also we got Patrick Muldoon as Steven.
Is it Rod or Raid Cerbegia as Marion Petrocelli?
The most interesting
man in the world. Yes.
Thomas Capacci as Father Durning.
Enrico Colantoni as Father Dario.
Fucking accents over here.
Elliot from fucking Just Shoot Me. This cracked me up because I watched a lot of Just Shoot Me. And then to see him with this accent and doing this. But I mean, his real name, he probably has relatives who sound like that, right?
I would imagine.
But you look at him and just
like fucking comical.
Yes.
Throughout this whole thing.
Yes. And his name's Dario.
Dario. And Anne Cusack
of the Cusack family dynasty.
We got the Arquettes family dynasty, the Cusack family dynasty.
But wait, there's only 4 Arquettes, and there are 5 Cusacks.
Oh, they're outnumbered. Is it like the Hatfields and the McCoys? Do they have to shoot at each other from across in their cabins when they go? Do they have a yearly, like the Barrymores used to do it?
They all get together. So she's Dr. Reston, who's a fat bitch, or not a fat bitch. A fat bitch as in large bitch, lots of bitchiness.
She's like
fat
extra bitch.
She got all the bitch.
Dr. Reston's bitch is big fat bitch, is the biggest bitch in the whole wide world.
Exactly.
She's stupid bitch with everyone's bitch. She's fucking stupid fucking bitch. Yeah.
Because she may save her life, but she is sure condescending doing that shit.
Like, you're not a good doctor.
No, your bedside manner is trash, ma'am.
Your bedside manner is basura.
Terrible. You got anybody else? That's all I got.
That's all I got.
So I got directed by Rupert Wainwright, which I immediately went, Rufus Wainwright.
Same. I kept getting
I had to look it up and go, wait,
what?
that's a singer. No,
Did he
different
make a
person.
movie? Yeah, no, not
Are they
the
related?
same.
Oh shit, are Rupert and Rufus Wainwright related?
Look it up.
Maybe they are. Because come on, what are the chances two people with the last name Wainwright? I mean, probably pretty good chances.
Rufus and a
Rufus
Rupert,
and a Rupert. They go together. They sound like brother names.
Rupert.
Oh, and music by
Billy Corgan. William.
So it said Billy.
I know.
So my husband comes in at a certain part. I think it was like when they were on the subway and it was like synth music or something. And I go, do you know who did the music for this? I go, listen to it. Do you know? Can you guess? And he's all somebody who's not very experienced playing the synth. And I said, Billy Corgan. And he goes, yep. Checks out. Checks out.
Burn.
Do we find out about the Wainwrights before we get into it? No, not related.
Rufus. I got stuck in a loop. Rufus?
Yes.
Royal Rumpus.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we open up. We're in Belo Quinto.
In Brazil. Sun is setting. There's an old priest doing some translations from a book.
Right.
He holds his rosary to his forehead. And then the next thing you know,
right,
boy is ringing the church bell. Yep. There's a big procession of people coming into this church
happening.
You don't know why. Nothing has been said.
It looks like everyone's like, I mean, it's a huge turnout. It's like the whole tiny little town of wherever, Belo Quinto.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you see Gabriel Byrne amongst the locals.
Ooh, because you know when he was a priest.
Spot him.
I mean, like, there's something about it. He was going to be a priest.
Did in real life?
That? Like in real life, he was going to be a priest and then he dropped out to become an actor.
And which was the one you said he filmed pretty close to this where he was the devil?
End of Days.
End of Days, that's right.
I wonder if he got confused. He was all shit.
He's like, which one is it today?
He's like, who's here today? Is it Patricia? Is it Arnold? I love that movie too. Like both of these movies are fucking stupid. They're fucking stupid.
But entertaining.
I love them.
Entertaining.
I love them.
I mean, I'm not going to be like, oh, this is a 5 out of 5. I mean, but like.
Because the depictions of the...
Whatever.
Who cares? Who cares?
Whatever. And because we don't care about religion,
no,
this is just fact to us.
Well, like these kinds.
We did not research whether any of this is true.
No, none
it's
of it.
True
I mean,
me.
like Padre Pio was a real person.
Yes.
Saint Francis of Assisi, like that's a for real thing.
They put text up at the end that explained. So to me, that's fact.
Oh yeah, like there was a real like based on a true story,
right.
like the little wrap up. At
yes,
the end,
I'm like so. At least part of it's true.
At least part of it.
Not this story, but like the things it's based
this
upon.
happened to Patricia Arquette. Did you hear?
Holy shit, she got the stigmata.
She got the stigmata.
So you realize that they're all there to receive a miracle. That they're because you notice like people being wheeled in wheelchairs
right, you see
and stuff.
A bunch of affected people, like that blind guy with the statue with the
milky
eyes, like Madonna.
Mm-hmm. Got the his Madonna eyes.
He's got the milky eyes of the Madonna, and they're going to see a Madonna with the eyes of blood.
Yes.
She's like a weeping. That's what he's there for. Well, that's
so he tells him when he exchanges a little bit with this young priest, and he said, "Oh, the investigator, I'm so glad you're here."
Right.
So he's happy to see this
exactly.
dude. Because what happened, and it doesn't really say here, but it says later, is that Father Almeida died when we saw that was Father Almeida. Or is it Almeida?
Right. He was the head of the church. Yeah, Almeida.
Am I saying it right? I'm like,
Almeida.
I'm forgetting. Yeah. And so when he died, this thing started crying.
Right. It wasn't crying blood until a week ago when this guy
died.
Right.
And so he's laying in state or whatever they call it. Like he's getting his open coffin over by the statue.
And this was a wax statue that they had like shipped to wherever the fuck that they...
The Virgin Mary one or the dead body?
No, the dead body
one.
one.
And they had it shipped to wherever they were
filming?
like
it's a pretty good wax statue.
Yeah,
it's like,
it was. I thought it was the dude just laying there still. I didn't even consider. I just thought he was just.
I thought it was breathing. The dude just laying there still. They're like, get in this box.
Still.
Get in this box.
And so they're looking at all. He's kind of taking it all in, what's going on, and suddenly a breeze comes out of nowhere.
Breezes and doves. This happens a lot in this movie.
Blowing candles out, doves flying everywhere, air's filled with feathers. Yeah, they reignite on their own.
Do you not believe?
How much more proof do you need?
Oh, like so. That's when he explains to him about the thing crying and all that other stuff. So the priest suggests clearing out this church because they're about to crate up this statue.
And he's like, excuse me?
No, like we can't do this. He wouldn't.
And like, really? You could just take it? I mean, if this is one of their churches, you can, but you find out later that it isn't one of their churches. It's not listed on any of their...
you also find out later that he does not take it.
No, he doesn't.
But I mean, I guess.
And they're horrified that he's like taking photos and talking about taking it.
It was also movies like this that like kind of gave me the idea about like Indiana Jones priests.
Yeah.
That there were like and like they have that conversation later where he was like a scientist. Like, why is a scientist become a priest? Like that whole conflicting thing. Like, does that happen a lot? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Is that a choice you can make in the priesthood?
They're like, so
do you want to be
an Indiana Jones
priest?
Here to the end of your schooling. Here are the different careers in priesthood that you can go
priest
into.
Paths that you could take.
Are you just going to give communion and be like the normal local church priest? Are you going to go be Indiana Jones priest? Right. Are you going to go be translator priest? Because we have like all are you on cardinal track? Like, what are your different opportunities?
You on the cardinal
Are you
track?
on the pope track?
Ooh, if you're on the pope track, I mean, you never know when that smoke will blow your way.
That's a track to be on. I heard you got to get a ride in that Pope mobile.
Oh, I should have worn my.
You get the big hat.
My Pope John Paul the fucking whatever T-shirt tour that I have.
Oh, you have one?
I have a T-shirt that was like when the Pope went on tour.
Nice.
And I don't know if it is or if it's not. When the Pope was a shot and he did not die.
But did he die though?
No, he didn't.
So, and you see that the father, the dead father, has an old photo in his hand that's like of a bunch of priests together. And what does he take it? Because
I don't know.
Or just it wants us to know.
I guess that's
this is the guy in the photo.
This is the guy.
Yeah, so you're aware this is connected to the rest of the story.
Is that not the same photo? Is that the?
Because they show it again later. Somebody had, but it's not the photo from his hand.
Like everybody got a copy of that photo.
Everyone from the photo got a copy of the photo.
They're like, here's your copy of your. It's like a photo booth. Like they all went to like the priest photo booth.
Speaking of copies, I mentioned in front of my 19-year-old something about a Xerox.
Oh,
and he went,
what?
Huh? And I was like, Xerox machine. He just blank, just crickets. I was like, copier of
a
paper,
copy
paper
machine.
In. Oh, yeah. Okay, I've heard of that. Yeah, because I don't know of any reason that they've ever had to stand at a copy machine yet. So
they wouldn't know anything of Kinko's.
No. Didn't need it.
The Kinko's lore.
Don't got to print nothing out. You just
don't got to print nothing out.
So anyway, the little boy steals the rosary off the body.
Right. We like see some white lady out here on vacation just randomly, and some little boy runs up and sells her.
Yes, this rosary. And the dude at the stand's like, don't buy that.
But he's speaking in Spanish. You know, she don't know shit. Yeah. She's just bouncing from fucking taking money out of her wallet in front of all of these people. Like, she's going to get robbed. Where she's going to all these fucking places.
I know, and just by herself.
I know. I mean, good for her.
She's a regular Corey.
Headless on the beach. She sure is.
And so then that's it. You see her buy the thing, and then cloud of blood, opening music begins.
It's a
Stigmata.
Typical 90s opening with a da da ba da 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 dun 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 dun, like like the techno
exactly
music.
Exactly.
Da, 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 like the chanting thing was big,
and especially for this one.
Well, you have to have the whatever. I even made a note here: music by Billy Corgan, just so you know. She's like a young, cool, hip city gal
on her way to work. She's a hairstylist, and then later she's getting ready to go out. It's like a little montage of a day in the life of Frankie,
dancing, drunk, party,
taking Steven back home and banging.
Right, her boyfriend or fuck buddy or whatever.
And then she wakes up in the morning alone
in this
crazy headboard.
Oh, I know. I love it.
Is it like stone?
I know. Like, how did she get it up there?
With like carvings of the subway?
Did she take that from a railway
It seemed like
station?
it was like stone carvings off a building. Like she went outside her window at that big building and just slid it inside and made it a headboard.
How did it get there? Number one, it's like it's like that or the fountain in fucking Splash. Like, how did they get it up there and how did they hook it up?
Yeah.
How did she get it up there? Where'd she get it from?
And she can afford this big old loft alone on the hairstylist salary in the Gargoyle District of Pittsburgh. Which we were apparently only I was very confused about. But number one, it was filmed in California, you said, right?
There was parts of it that are in LA. I guess one of the buildings is the building from Predator 2.
Oh. And then they say
None of it was in Pittsburgh, by the way.
No, none of it was filmed in Pittsburgh. They say Pittsburgh, but then they're on the subway. They don't have a subway in Pittsburgh. Then the Cardinal says, I'll meet you in New York. And then New York's 6 hours from Pittsburgh, but he shows up after saying, I'll meet you in New York, in Pittsburgh at her door.
Well, but yeah.
So I was a little confused about, you said Pittsburgh, but you also keep mentioning New York. And so and you're in the subway. So I looked it up, and it's far enough away driving that you wouldn't be just like, oh, I'm back and forth from Pittsburgh to New York City.
He's a cardinal, bitch. He flies.
Oh my God. Of course he do. He have wings. So, yes, you see a day in the life. Her mom calls and wakes her up.
Oh, and these phones.
Oh, that phone
that
she
phone
had.
looked like conky.
Yes, it did. It had like lips and eyes, and it was like zebra stripe kind
there
of.
There was that one, and then that like bright green one that she had in the kitchen. She had like multiple cool.
Because that loft was so big.
So like before we even get to there, I mentioned to you earlier that like this was another thing that doomed us, was that we were going to get like these
big cool loft apartments
on a whatever salary,
yeah,
whatever paycheck that you
that
could
on
get,
minimum wage or whatever,
with all kinds of like cool transit authority shit.
Inflatable furniture.
The inflatable
because your
furniture.
Roof don't stop leaking ever.
Seriously, I guess how come that's what she could afford it. She was just
and was she on the very top floor? Because
she must have been.
It was toilet water.
Oh
God, I was gonna say, is that
the pool on the roof?
Yes, the pool on the roof.
She had toilet water.
Toilet water drips.
Gross.
But yeah, and you see that right away, right? Isn't it when she wakes up? There's already drips coming down on the side.
Drips happening. It gets
sideboard.
Worse.
Yeah.
But there's already, like, over your bed. Like, I mean, I guess I could see why she couldn't move it.
Yeah, it's gigantic.
Because what else are you gonna do?
So her mom tells her she sent her a package.
Yes.
And guess what? Mom is the white lady from the fucking market.
Oh, she got her a bunch of little shits and also a rosary.
And then when she picks up the rosary, she's also like drinking her tea, and she's like holding it kind of by her face, but also has her tea, and she gets sick.
Yeah.
And she thinks it's the tea.
Right.
But
it's not
that.
But
she
also
moment of possession.
It's a moment of possession.
That's what I always took it to be.
Incidentally, the moment that you might think that you're pregnant.
Right. Because something normal like tea, because you would never guess the rosary, if it didn't smell like anything.
No.
And you just picked it up and it made you sick, you would just assume it's whatever you were about to drink or eat, or that you have morning sickness.
I would immediately think it was the rosary just because I've seen all of these movies.
And you're like, nope.
That must be possessed. I was possessed.
Gotta be possessed.
I need to find a priest immediately. A hot priest, preferably.
And she meets Donna for breakfast, and she's not hungry, she's not thirsty.
Right.
And she tells her she thinks she's pregnant, or afraid she's pregnant. Mm-hmm. And then cut to Father Kiernan back at Vatican City.
Yes.
Getting propositioned by sex workers.
Right. He shows
them
sex
workers in Vatican City even.
It's the oldest profession in the world.
And he's got to flash his little white collar to get him
They're like,
off.
it's okay, we'll give you a discount.
So he's come to see the Cardinal Houseman.
Cardinal Houseman. And this asshole.
They're looking at his photos of the statue, and he's telling him, like, it's really a miracle. Like, the tears are warm. I can't figure it out.
Human
I don't
blood.
know the trick.
We've run the tests.
And then Dario's like, oh, no. I just wrote a note, just shoot me, Dario.
Oh,
okay.
Right.
And then he's telling him it's not a fake. I have no explanation. And the Cardinal just doesn't even want to hear about it. He's like, I didn't send you there. I didn't send you to do that.
He was like, I sent you for something else. He was like, oh, that was like oxidation on a building or whatever. But while
this
I was
is for
out
real.
there, I heard of this, so I popped on down, and turns out like this is legit. And they're like, I don't care.
Yeah, doesn't care. He's like, oh, well, did you bring the statue back?
Or yeah, he was like, well, can I go back there? Like, do you care if I go back there? And he's like, what do you mean you didn't bring it back with you?
He's like, no. He's like, well, if you thought it was real, you know the rules. You're supposed to bring it back to the Vatican.
He was like, well, like they really like it there, though.
And then he's like, yeah, they're not supposed to really like a statue.
Right.
They're supposed to really like
church
the church.
Is the cornerstone of their faith.
So they'll send a geologist down there, but no, Kiernan, you are not going back.
No, you don't get to go.
And so he leaves, and Dario's like, I have never seen him like this. Like, he really believes this shit is
Dario
real.
has never seen him. I have never seen him like this.
And the Cardinal's like, his problem is he can't decide if he's a scientist or priest. So now Frankie is still worried about being pregnant. And Donna's
She's
like,
probably been
let's
going
go get a
on
test.
and on about this
all day.
all fucking day. And Donna's like, well, we could go find out right now.
No, let's just leave it a few more days.
Okay. Sure.
So she drops her off at home. Mm-hmm. And how long do you think it took her to light all the candles she has lit in this fucking bath?
Oh my God. It's like that fucking police video.
It had to have taken 20 minutes.
Seriously.
Of solid
it's like,
candle lighting.
Dracula. Do you think that it might have
been
just to have a fucking flamethrower?
There you go. And just
it was
light
wet
them all
enough
up.
in there that they weren't going to burn it down.
And who eats an apple in the bathtub?
She does with her snaggletooth.
I've never sat in a bathtub and eaten an apple.
I mean, I've never had a bathtub like that. Maybe I would be inspired to.
I don't know.
I don't eat in the bath.
No.
I'll drink in the bath, but
I've never eaten in a bath. I feel like it would make my stomach hurt.
Well, the bath is in the bathroom.
Well, that too. Poo-poo germs.
Yeah, poo germs.
You don't want food in there.
I mean, well,
but hers is like in the middle of a room somewhere, apparently. I
mean,
know.
but some of that water is like roof water.
For sure.
And Dove shit.
Yep.
For
sure. Speaking of,
yes,
she's sinking under the water. She's like kind of daydreaming about things she was told earlier or something, right? She's like listening to.
She's having like a
little
moment where she's like in the bathtub, all reflected, and like
water's dripping, and a dove flies into the room.
She's disrupted by this dove,
and then when the feather hits the bath, she suddenly gets sucked back underwater,
right,
by this unseen force, and she's like being drowned.
Yes.
And she can envision like the stigmata start. She's
right,
getting
it's like bong bong on
she's
her.
getting wrist
things,
pummeled through with
it's
not nails. What do you call that? A stake, like
9-inch nails.
9-inch nails. So yeah, she feels it. She see it's happening, and so now who called the fucking ambulance?
That's what I wanted to know.
She's
How
alone,
did Donna
bleeding out in the bathtub.
How did Donna get there? When did Donna get there? Did she get there because they were supposed to go out?
Does she live there, but it doesn't ever show that she lives there, or she's just there a lot?
Well, she drove there the first time, and then later on they were taking the subway, which does not exist in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's weird too. They work. They take a subway. I don't know. I don't get it. I think they didn't think anyone was going to think that far ahead.
I mean, we're clearly not supposed to.
Right.
We're clearly not supposed to.
So yeah, she sees the stakes being driven in her wrist. She's bleeding. She's sinking under the water, and then suddenly she's at the hospital.
Yes.
And why does this hospital have a mirrored ceiling?
Because it's hot.
That's creepy.
Sexy. You want to see her own butthole.
And they think she's like, she's like bleeding out. She's dying, and then she just wakes up and screams,
and then flatlines,
and then just boop.
Yep, she's fine.
She's fine. No paddles needed.
Yeah, no, she's cool.
And they take off her wrist bandage, and she's just pouring blood.
Right. She was
and she just is smiling, looking
watching at it like it's totally cool. So now here comes the fucking doc.
This is the bitch ass doctor.
It only bleeds when I touch it. Well, maybe you should stop fucking touching it then.
Oh, and this is clearly self-harm. How? After you did the first one.
How did you do the second
How could you
one?
even pick up a thing to hammer something into your wrist? And like, how do you hold? Okay, because you'd have to hold a stake, so you're not with your own physical. She's what, 120 pounds, maybe.
She's 108.
And like how? Yeah, what you hold it with your teeth, and it's thick. It's like an inch thick.
I know. And did they find any?
And I'm sorry if the last thing she remembers is somebody trying to drown her in the bathtub, and then she woke up in the hospital like this, and she said, I didn't do it. Nobody's investigating if someone came in and harmed her. Nope. They're just like, no, clearly you're insane. And she's like, no, I would never do this. I love being me.
This is obviously a suicide attempt or a stigmata.
Again, that was not even brought up. It was just like it has to be done to yourself.
Yeah, she did it. You did it yourself. She's like, what are you talking about? I love being.
But it was never even a question that someone could have come in and done this to her.
And to be accusatory like that,
for someone who, and if they did, first of all, she just told you she didn't, and she loves being herself.
Right.
So don't keep fucking pushing the subject, because if she did, what are you trying to like?
What are you trying to prove, bitch?
Yeah. Trying to make it worse? She's like unstable then. So they want her to stay for observation. Yeah, it's obvious it's self-inflicted. What the fuck?
What the fuck are you talking about?
And I don't think she stays, because then you see her going home, and
Donna
no one drained the bath. Home. It's just overflowing blood, water
before,
everywhere.
When Donna's taking her home, is this when the priest is out there? No, not yet. That's after the thing. So yes, and they just go to bed. Like her ceiling is now hella leaky. Now it's just dripping everywhere. Major roof leak. Donna stays over. Frankie smells flowers.
No, Donna smells the flowers, and Frankie doesn't at first. Donna smells jasmine and hyacinth, and Frankie's like, no, I don't smell it.
I thought that Frankie was the one that was saying that, and Donna said
she
no.
smells it all the other times. Frankie smells it all the other times, but that very first time, only Donna notices it.
I couldn't see anybody's mouth move, so I didn't know which one of them. They both have young, girlish
similar voices. So back in Vatican City, Father Kiernan's there to see some other priest.
Right, Father Delmonico.
And he brought him some Pall Malls.
They're old buddies.
And he's asking how he is, and he's like, I don't know.
Right, he was like, so how is Bello Quinto? And he's like, how'd you hear about that shit?
Oh, the church, like,
that's yours. Like a fucking sewing circle.
And he's having some crisis of faith because, like, why is he going around disproving miracles? Like, this is, we're lucky people have faith at all. And I'm going around the world disproving the things that give them faith. So the father's translating these old texts, and he starts telling them about the Gospels, the 35 Gospels.
But we only get only every third page, like it's top secret shit,
like government.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's like fucking like CIA priests or something. I don't know. Like if that was a choice that you could make, and like you get to read all these fucking secrets and know all of these things, but you just can't fuck nobody,
right? And maybe it'd be worth it for the knowledge, but like not if I only get to know every third page.
Well, I mean, then how am I going to know anything?
Yeah.
Because then you can go on an adventure.
Have you ever read, is it Christopher Hitchens that wrote all the atheist books? I bought one for Chris for Christmas one year and gave it to him in front of his mom. And his mom was like, is it not still Jesus' birthday? Because it was called like...
Is she Catholic?
Lutheran. So Catholic light.
Catholic light.
Catholic light.
Catholic.
Yes. She's cat-like.
She's cat-like, very
but it
cat-like.
talks about it breaks down the history of the church and like how it's just a business. It's a big old dirty business, like the fucking government or whatever. And it's just meant to control you and keep you in line and keep taking your tithing, your 10% of your income or
Prada
whatever.
Shoes.
For those, so they can have gilded hats and
shit.
Yeah, all that shit.
Vestments.
Bug it.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the message of this movie.
Oh,
when you get to the end, it's like, I'm behind it. I'm behind this message.
We had to go. I was told to. I was corrected by a nun at a crossing in a parking lot. We had to take our niece to school. And I went there. We were like, oh, she was all excited. We took her to school. And like the nun does the drop off.
Oh, the direct, like the crossing guard type of deal.
I stepped like a step too far into the thing because I was just going to cross the street because it's a parking lot. Like I can handle it. But she was like, oh no, could you? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry because I don't want to. I also don't want to disobey. And then she floated towards you. She did. She had the thing, but not the hat. I wouldn't have gone, bitch. I wouldn't have fucking.
She's
gone.
on skates.
She was rolled over. But then when we were leaving, I know. I feel like they should only be able to travel by roller skates.
That'd be hilarious.
But then I looked down when we got back in the car and I realized I wore my Katya shirt.
So it looks like a medal, like
with like upside down crosses. Yeah. For the T. And I was like, oops, I forgot I was wearing that.
The nun was scandalized.
I had a flannel on over it, but it was just funny that I forgot. Chose to wear that.
So anyway,
sorry.
Father Delmonico tells him only a very powerful few know the whole truth, and he you see it dawning on him, like maybe I should not be so supportive of the church.
What's going on here? So Frankie surprises everybody by showing up at work,
and she seems distracted with her first client because she hears something outside.
Right, she goes up there to the window and she's looking out across the street, and she sees some lady in a parka.
Holding a baby,
and she's like watching all this shit, and it gets all slow motion.
The woman's crying, and she's dropping the baby, or is she dropping the baby? And then she drops the baby right as this car comes careening around,
and the station wagon is like,
yeah, what the fuck?
Like,
what the fuck with the station wagon? I don't know. Is it missing a wheel?
Right? Like they came out of.
Jesus had the wheel. Jesus like, there were no cars in my day.
I don't know how to do this.
And so Frankie runs out screaming, thinking this woman just dropped her baby in the street in front of this car. And she's crossing traffic, making fucking cars crash and shit. And finally gets over there and there's no baby and no lady.
The red blanket or whatever in the street.
And so was this supposed to be modern day Mary and Jesus? Because what else was the significance of her having this vision?
Girl.
I did not get what that had to do with anything that comes after this.
It was just a vision. I don't know.
Because if it don't have to do with Jesus, that's all her shit has to do with.
It has nothing to do with anything. It was just to make her appear
just to freak
insane.
her out. All right.
Just to freak her out, just to scare her.
So yeah, nobody else sees the woman. Nobody sees the baby. She's all distressed and confused. So Donna takes her home on the subway.
Right. She does not drive this time.
And she looks down the car and she sees some nuns talking to a priest.
Yes. And I feel like right before and during this whole moment, we might want to mention the hair.
Oh, everybody's hair.
With the pins.
Oh, yeah.
The little
so many pieces and pins.
And the wound up, and it took you forever.
Uh-huh.
And the clips and the teenies and the this and the that. Both of them.
And if you fell asleep with that shit in your hair.
Oh, ouch.
Your scalp would hurt.
But sometimes it was easier just to do that and accept the pain than take all those little pins out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's too much.
Anyhow, they're on the subway.
And she's like triggered by the white collar of this priest.
Right. She sees the nun. She sees this priest. She gets up.
Hey, you.
Yeah. Hey, you.
Are you Andrew Kiernan?
No, I'm Father Durning. Can I help you?
No one can help me now. I'm fucked.
I'm fucked.
Because out of nowhere.
Right. And she sees this big old cross
on the
medallion
nun and just tears it off her neck. And tosses it, and then the whole car tips. Now, what happened here?
It's the King Kong ride.
Is this what happens if you get rowdy in a subway car? Does it start to tilt, skid, and sparks?
When, you get stigmata on the.
It makes
subway.
Like an earthquake or something on the subway.
The problem with it is that there's no subway in Pittsburgh. They're all.
So they're like, this doesn't exist. It's erupting.
There's a tear in space time.
So she's hanging onto the handrails, and she's getting whipped in the back by unseen forces.
Yes, wapow, wapow. It looks like she's crucified.
Yeah, she's holding on to each handrail, and the father is behind her and sees these whip marks coming from nowhere.
Immediately deduces.
Yeah, he's like, her wrists are bleeding. Clearly. I'm watching her get whipped by unseen forces.
Yeah.
She was triggered by
Stigmata.
He knew right away.
Immediately.
He knew right away. That's why he alerted people
I know. He called the Vatican on the basis of that.
Yeah.
Insanity.
With poor 90s subway security camera footage though.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That was enough. That was enough.
Yeah.
Human blood from a statue, not enough.
No.
Whipping on a subway, that's enough. They were the only two people that weren't stunt people on that scene.
Who, Patricia and the father?
Nia Long and
Patricia Arquette. Oh,
Parent
so they got really tumbled around then.
I don't know how they did
it.
Interesting.
Oh, well, before we find out what happens next, it's time for a break.
Yes.
We'll be right back. Hey guys, we got another new friend for you.
Our friend Cherish makes these amazing handmade pop sockets for your phone that are super detailed little works of art and feature icons from some of your favorite childhood films like Neverending Story, Labyrinth, Ghostbusters, and more.
I bought the sandworm from Beetlejuice for my phone, and it is super adorable. It even has real sand around the base of it, it's coming out of the sand.
I know, I've seen it. It's super cute. But you can watch her make them on her TikTok channel or get your own over at cherishheathart.com and use our code DOOM10 for 10% off on us.
That's cherishheathart.com.
Later, Doomers.
Hi there, I'm Judas Falling from Satan is My Superhero. It's comedy from under, down under.
Can't argue with the Lord, bitch face.
John of Patmos, report to HR immediately.
God damn it, Brianna.
Now, I shall perform a rap for you.
Mommy, Sam Smith makes me feel weird in the ding-a-ling.
Call an ambulance.
Please check us out wherever you get podcasts.
Later, Doomers. Satan is my superhero.
And we're back.
We are back.
Was the break as painful as getting dry cotton stuck into your sticky, bloody, open back wounds?
Ow.
That was I know.
They're just
supposed to wet it first, right? You're not supposed to put dry cotton or put some ointment, something in there.
An ointment, a liniment.
And they were deep enough they had to stitch them up.
I know.
And you never see her back again. I want to see her back after this.
Right?
How is she sit anywhere or lay
she
down?
She was laying down on her side
just in the hospital
the first
though.
day, but after that she was fine. She was supposed to be 23.
She got hopped right back up.
Right? No problem.
And she asked the doc, "Did you run a pregnancy test?"
Mm-hmm.
They did.
Yep. You pregnant? Nope. Was I? I don't know.
And then they run a vision test and a hearing test.
I'm so good at the glaucoma test.
I did so well the other day when I went. I did not blink. It was just one shot each eye.
I'm like a pro. I almost love the glaucoma test just because I'm like, oh, I win. I get nothing. I don't get glaucoma.
So she's getting like the Reagan rundown. She's getting all of the basic blood tests and eye and ear and CT scan, and nothing's wrong with her.
She's like, my hearing is fine.
Yeah, she's like, as they're blaring this into her ear, she's like, oh my God, please stop. And meanwhile, while she's having her blood drawn, Kiernan is giving out the blood of Christ at communion
he's
somewhere.
Leaving mass, like interspersed with these medical tests, and like the doctor tells her like, you're rational, other than your injuries, you're healthy, but you could have epilepsy.
And like epilepsy made holes in my wrists and lashes on my back.
Right? Did she are you saying that she injured herself having a seizure?
Like, yeah, because her only symptoms is she's hearing voices and she's getting these mysterious injuries.
Right.
But not mysterious injuries like I hit my head.
No.
Or I bit my tongue.
No.
Like totally unrelated.
No, she's having like through and through puncture wounds.
Insane. I don't understand any of these doctors. Not that I expect them to go, ooh, it's stigmata.
Well, stigmata.
I can't say it normal. I don't know.
No, I know. You had to stigmata.
But I don't expect him to go there.
No, but
psychological. She physically has wounds. She couldn't have inflicted those on her back in the
her
subway.
Mind?
And nobody else in this subway little barely crash had any injuries.
No.
And people witnessed this. The priest witnessed it.
Right. Well, because that's what I don't know.
And
he sends the video to the how did he get the video to send to the fucking Vatican?
From the subway authority.
He just asked them nicely because he's a priest.
He's I'm the priest.
And
it was the 90s. It was before September 11th.
Oh, so you could just get shit.
Probably. If you seemed like you had enough authority in Pittsburgh, you could just walk into the subway guy and be like, "Hey,
collar."
See this collar?
They probably have like some sort of form of identification.
Yeah, I would imagine
they have a badge.
And so she comes out, and Father Durning's out there waiting, like, "Hey, you ever heard of the stigmata?" And she's like, "Whoa,
hey, ever hear of a stigmata?"
Like she's just like, "Hey, now,
excuse me,
what did you just call me?" Let me see them stigmatas. She's like, "Sir,
Father Durning,
sir." So Donna scoots her out, but he gives her his card as they're leaving.
Right. He's like, call me just in case you want to talk about, like, in the chaos with the lights and the shit and the people screaming and the whatever, he deduced stigmata.
Yeah. It must have been on his mind or something. I don't know. He's been waiting. He's been waiting
for a wound like this.
He thinks
into his life.
He's gonna get a promotion.
He's gonna get a promotion. He's been on the stigmata track for years.
Yes,
he's like, finally, we got one of these things.
He wants to travel like Kiernan. He's like, yes, I finally got my own.
Right?
Send me to find more.
Like, send me to fucking Belo Quinto. Send me to Iraq so I can go out there and dig with Father Mary.
Yes,
that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do.
So Andrew has a new assignment, and he's like, "Oh, you're sending me back to Brazil?" And they're like, "What?
No,
there's no
church
there.
There's no church there. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not one of our churches.
Never happened.
There was like, yeah,
it doesn't exist.
You didn't see You didn't see it. You don't want to talk about it.
It's like Fight Club over there,
right? Like that shit never fucking happened."
So they show him the train camera footage.
Yeah, he was like, "So by the way, we got this sent in to us. It's like fucking America's Funniest Home Videos. They sent us this video, Father Durning in fucking Pittsburgh."
And Andrew's like, "How important is this?"
I know, like, what am I even looking at? Like, how did you, what?
And all it was important because there's a newspaper clipping that says stigmata in it, or something, or it just mentions
the subway accident. He's like, "Well, we need you to go down there because we don't want this like getting out."
Right.
And he's like, well, "Why would it?" Right? We don't want it getting out.
It's like it's only going to give it more credit if you have a priest show up and be hanging out with her.
Right. Like if I show
everyone
up
would just ignore it. If no one had called it a stigmata yet, then why were you worried?
I don't even know why Father Durning is calling it a stigmata.
So now Frankie has apparently lost her umbrella because she is just walking to work in the soaking ass. And does it rain this much in Pittsburgh, y'all?
I have no idea.
Who do we know? Isn't Full Circle? Aren't they
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
I don't know if they're Pittsburgh, but I think they're
Philadelphia. How far?
somewhere.
I don't know. I'm
Let us
bad
know.
at this.
Is it raining all the fucking time? What season is this? So she gets to work, tells her client to come get in the chair, but the client's like,
I'm gonna wait for Donna.
I'm just gonna wait for Donna.
No thanks.
And she goes in the back and she can hear everybody whisper. And she comes out to yell at them. Why are you fucking whispering like it's a goddamn church? And Father Kiernan has just walked in the door.
Oops. Sorry about it.
Do you have an appointment? Do you want a haircut, manicure? Are your nipples pierced?
Maybe we'll just start with a trim and go from there.
And then she's cutting his hair and she's like, it feels weird calling a guy who could date Father.
I mean, I can't date you, but whatever.
Like, oh, you made my day.
Well, first he tells her that he lives in Rome and she's like, oh, I'm from Naples. And then he says in Italian, that's the most beautiful city in the world. She's like, yeah, Naples, Florida. She came here to go to Claudia's University of Cosmetology. And that's when they introduce themselves. And she hears his name.
Mm-hmm, and she's all stunned.
What?
And Donna hears, she looks over at Donna
oh, what the fuck? Because they're all like, is she hitting on a priest right now?
Right?
I mean, he's a hot priest.
But still, damn, girl.
I mean, if you're going to go for it, go for it.
So she's like, this is going to sound strange, but I've been expecting you.
Yeah, and he was like, why don't we go out for coffee?
So they go out for dinner, or not dinner, but to a diner.
Yes.
And he's telling her what he does for the church.
Yeah.
And he turns on his tape recorder and starts asking her some basic questions.
Right, where do you go to church? She's like, I don't
believe in God. And he's like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah, he was like, oh.
It's not Stigmata.
No, it can't be because people that stigmatics are deeply religious people.
Yeah.
This is, the closer they get to God and this, that, whatever, they're all aware of all of this shit. So there's no way that this could be you.
And as he starts talking about this, her wrists start bleeding and she's hiding him under the table.
Right. And then she was like, well, why don't you look at this?
And he peeks under the bandages and doesn't seem impressed. And he turns and looks the other way and she flips her hands over and he's like, oh shit, they're all the way through.
Right.
But he's like, well, it doesn't matter what I think. It's not a case for the church.
Right. This isn't a case for the church since it can't be what I think it could be. So she shows him this note. She's like, I wrote this, but I don't know what this is.
It's in Italian, so he can read. It says, split a piece of wood and I'm there. Lift a stone and you will find me.
Mm-hmm. It's from the Gospel of Thomas.
And she's like, no, it's a warning and that I can't escape.
Right. There's nowhere I could fucking go. So she starts yelling and freaking out. And she runs out, whatever. Yeah. And the waitress comes over oh, Father, are you okay?
With his third coffee refill in 3 minutes.
I know.
She kept refilling. They were only there a few minutes and she refilled it at least 2 or 3 times.
There and be close to, because he's a hot priest. She
right.
Was
she's
hey,
all,
I got stigmata too.
So back at the drippy apartment. And she's reading books, just letting the water drip on the books.
Just where it's so moist in there.
That she checked out from the library. These got to be library books.
There's going to be damaged.
Because it's books about the brain and epilepsy and stigmata. And she hears his voice talking in her head, talking about whatever, that it can't be that, blah, blah, blah. And so she says, fuck it, and goes to the club.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to the club. We're having shots. And she's looking around for Steven. Who's totally at the fucking bar.
He's there at the end, he just
with
standing
his stupid
there.
little fucking hat on.
But you don't see him until she's taken out.
Baby Gap hat that he's wearing.
Yes.
He's in a ska band. Steven. Patrick Muldoon.
So she's freaking out that God's fucking up her life. And Donna's like, I think you're losing it.
Right. She's like, you know what's worse than believing or not believing in God? Believing in this shit. It's fucking terrifying. So it's all fucked up and God's ruining my life. Yeah. And she takes off and then she gets the crown of thorns. She gets hit with that crown of thorns. Bam,
and
bam.
Once again, a whole room full of witnesses. Right. She has no weapon in her hand.
Nope.
She's not hitting her head on the floor or hitting her head on anything.
Lit though. It's
true.
A weird.
It always happens in somewhere where
there's a strobe light happening.
Yeah. And so she's bleeding from the head. Donna's yelling for someone to call an ambulance, and Steven's just standing there, looking at her like, ew.
In his stupid fucking hat.
He's just looking at her like, ew, you got blood on your head.
Ew, did you get your head period?
Right. So she's running in the street, almost getting hit by cars, causing
Donna's
car accidents again.
fuck?
And Donna's out there chasing her. Mm-hmm. And Andrew's at her apartment. And he sees her come home, blood running down her face, and she sees him and scurries off into an alley.
Into like Dove Alley. It's like Dove, steam, and paper fucking alley.
And he finds her cowering in the corner. But when he goes towards her, all the steam pipes blow. Glass is breaking. The fire escape almost hits him.
Crazy.
So she's running, and he goes looking for her, and he finds her on the hood of a broken car.
Right. She's like scratching
with a big old thick broken bottle.
Like, that's not going to work.
In another language and muttering. And her eyes are like two different colors.
Oh, they're kind of cool.
Yeah, like animal eyes almost.
Yes. Like she has demon eyes.
So he turns on his tape recorder and gets closer.
Yep.
And she goes back to carving. She's cursing him out in some other language.
Yep.
But as soon as Donna rolls up and yells her name, she drops out of it, drops to her knees and sobs. And Andrew helps her down.
He carries her to some church. Carries her like a baby. He carries her like a baby a lot of times.
He cleans her head, and it's we find out it's Durning's church.
She
and
smells
now
flowers
she smells
again.
the flowers. Yeah.
Or for the first time, apparently.
And
which
she goes back
would
to
totally
sleep.
make sense. They're in a church. Like, wouldn't she smell the little censer filled with fucking frankincense and myrrh?
I would assume.
Like, that's probably, it smells like pew. Remember, what was
pew.
it? Remember, oh God, when we were, long time ago, when we had the adjoining bathrooms and we were trying to figure out what the smell of, I think it was like a Prada perfume. And we're like, oh my God, this smells like Catholic church. Like, it smells like
Oh, Chris
pew.
calls it church hands.
Yeah. Oh, it smells
He
like
calls it
holy water.
He said when you have to shake hands with all the old people at church and then you smell
hate
your
that
hand
part.
after. That's what it
Peace
smelled
be
like.
with you. Peace be with you.
I never had
Peace
to
be
do
with
that.
you. I fucking hate it.
Never
I
had to
fucking
do
hate
it.
it.
So he plays the recording that he took and for his old translator friend over the phone, and he's like, "Whoa, that's not gibberish."
Yeah,
who is saying this?
Who said that shit? Who'd you hear that from?
Cut to Frankie walking around in the church, all wrapped up in a blanket.
Frankie in a blanket.
Looking. Franken blanket.
Frankie in a blanket.
And she's looking at Jesus and how he's nailed up through his hands.
Right.
Looking down at her wrists like,
She's like, hold up. So Father Kiernan comes up. She's like, see, look, this can't be what it is.
I didn't get nailed through the palms. And he's like, actually.
Well, actually, scientists have decided that it was probably through the wrist because you couldn't support the weight and blah, blah, blah.
And she's like, every painting and statue of Jesus is wrong.
It's just misinterpreted.
So he tells her the words she keeps repeating are not nonsense, that it's specific language, a form of Aramaic.
Oh, it's Jesus times.
It's not been used for 1900 or more years.
Right.
Around the time of Jesus.
In the millennium.
So cut to this crazy bitch on the roof.
I know. Like,
not just the roof, but the very corner of like a fucking 500-foot tall building or more.
I know. And she's so Alabama right here. Like, she likes
just kicking
really
her little
does
feet.
like to fucking go sit up high and think about shit, don't she?
Yeah, just kicking her little feet like it ain't nothing.
I know. And when she like gets up, it stresses me the fuck out. Like, that's not how I would get up from there.
And like, you've been maybe having seizures. Like, you've been
That
having
too.
spells.
Like, are you going to get stigmata while you're fucking standing on a ledge of an
and
Art
just,
Deco building
you're
in
gonna
Pittsburgh?
be at the fucking pavement.
That looks like a Chicago building in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not New York. I don't know. It's in LA maybe. Is that the Predator building? I'm not sure.
Not sure.
I don't know which building is the Predator 2 building.
And there was no reason to do this because there is no incident as a result of this.
No,
it's
she's
just
just
to
up
show
there
that
reading
she's
her little
just
fucking
carefree,
note.
apparently.
This
yeah,
is
she
what
reads the
she
note.
do. Is this where she lives, or is this?
I thought so. I thought it was outside her apartment, but I don't know.
But this could also be the church, because isn't that where she?
Well, but it
just
was a big old sky rise. I don't think that would be the church. She was like way up in the
Girl,
sky.
I don't know how she get home. She was just at
I
the
don't
church. Anyhow,
I'm a guess Kiernan took her home after.
Father, take me home.
So next day, Donna's calling her from work, and she's not answering. No machine, nothing.
Nope.
That's the Eastern Columbia building in Broadway, Los Angeles.
That's a building
Columbia
in LA.
building
Okay.
in downtown Los Angeles.
So Father Kiernan shows up to her apartment, and she doesn't answer, but he just sneaks in when someone else comes out.
Right. He just goes up there any old way, and he finds her like all shrivelly, like writing up on the wall, like all.
She's writing in Aramaic all over her wall.
Well, he
And
doesn't know that yet.
He doesn't know that yet, but that's
I
what
mean,
she's
you
doing.
could guess. And actually, it's Greek or some shit. It's like Greek or Hebrew or
Oh.
some shit. The director just thought it looked better than ancient
Aramaic.
Aramaic. I don't even know what it looks like.
I don't either.
I don't know. It looks like a bunch of symbols.
So he turns on his tape recorder and picks up his camera and keeps repeating her name as he's like snapping pictures, and she's not responding.
No, like she's got like, again, Milky Madonna eyes.
Well, because he finally's like, well, then who are you?
Who are you?
And she turns and
El
speaks to him.
messaggero es non-importante.
Oh, and she's all pale and wrinkly, milky eyes, and she turns back and keeps writing, and he snaps. Like, I don't know how many photos.
Flash, and like she shambles.
Oh yeah, she walks like an old man.
Bright blue styrofoam Birkenstock
those
platform.
Shoes. Those
Why
are
not
a crime? A fashion crime.
Well, the Father Alameda handled them spectacularly.
He sure did.
He walked like a geisha.
She stumbles back to the bed and she lies down, and as the gross roof mildew ceiling water falls on her head, it baptizes her.
That's what I'm saying. She's got a mold problem.
She
She's
gets
like mold mad.
Waterboarded by Jesus, and she looks amazing when she's done.
Oh my God, she is hydrated.
The facial Jesus gave her.
The facial Jesus gave me.
And she wakes up and is like, I feel like my heart is breaking.
Jesus of Christ.
Why am I so sad? And again, she smells the flowers.
Right.
So she gets it, and now he smells it too.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, I smell that shit too.
And she sees the writing, and she's like, who did that?
She's like, I don't remember doing any of that.
Because he's like, you did. And she's all,
like,
what? So back in Vatican City, Father Kiernan has not filed a report since he got to Pittsburgh.
Cardinal Fuckface and Accent Boy are discussing not hearing from him, and he was like, they talk about how the news has reached like further than they'd like.
And that one of them mentioned Stigmata, one of these articles.
And he was like, you know what? Why don't you end this shit immediately? Tell Kiernan to meet me in New York next week or some shit, and he better bring that report, and fucking I'm done with this shit.
And Kiernan is still taking pictures of the wall.
He was like, hey.
She's hand feeding a dove, sir.
She's hand feeding several doves. She's busy. He's like, no. You gotta come
over
at
here.
This because I really
familiar?
think that she's like, no, bitch, it's not. None of this is familiar to me. I don't know why you're bugging me with this fucking flash. You're bugging me with your fucking... I don't know what this is.
So she joins the Bloods and puts on her do-rag.
She did.
And they go out to the market. Or she goes out to the market and he follows her.
He chases her down to this flower market.
And he apologizes like, look, I used to be an organic chemist before I was a priest.
Right.
And one day, and she's like, well, I want to know, like, what happened? And he's like, well,
because of the holes in the theory.
That the world existed for 3 billion years with nothing on it, and then bam.
And now all of a sudden there's poodles and cars. It was like, no, that's not.
It's not exactly how it happened, Father Kiernan. It didn't explode into modernity the moment
people
that
rode dinosaurs.
So she's like, she thinks he's a virgin.
Right.
She's
like, I'm totally not a virgin.
Yeah, basically. That's the sum up of that whole conversation.
He was like, but I just made a choice and I exchanged one set of complications for another set. And then boom, she gets foot nails.
Yep. In them platform foam shoes. At least she didn't ruin a nice pair.
I know. She gets like whipped some more. I mean, did it even...
It like reopens all the wounds every time, I
don't
think.
know. Well, she got like, I don't know, whipped again. I don't know.
And she destroys the flower display, falls into it.
And Andrew just takes her home to wash her feet like those weird fucking Jesus commercials.
Like she's losing probably a lot of blood if that's all the way through her foot.
Like how did she walk?
And how can she walk after this?
She can't. She couldn't.
There's no way. She has holes through her
bone
feet.
in your feet. You got a bunch of tiny little.
And how did the first one not sever a tendon in her wrist? Like how does she have complete
like a hangy fucking finger?
How do all the muscles in her fingers still work after that?
Whatever. This was like a weird.
That's how you know it's got to be stigmata. Because if someone
Quentin thing,
really ran a metal spike through your wrist, you would sever some fucking tendons
or something.
It wouldn't just be stitch it up. There'd be some veins or something that's messed up.
Fucking Dr. Asshole was like, oh, she managed to miss magically while doing this to herself with her teeth.
And on both sides in the perfect center.
She managed to miss every major anything inside her wrist.
Dumb.
Whatever.
Dumb.
But her foot?
Yeah.
There's like teeny bones in there.
So he starts telling her, she wakes up to him washing her feet. And he's telling her about the 5th wound or whatever.
Which... that's not even like, that's not what killed Jesus.
I don't know what killed Jesus.
That was like to
just
make sure he was dead.
Oh, he was already dead, and then
they were like,
speared him.
we'll stick him, and if he doesn't scream, he's dead.
And so he tells her about this Italian priest and about St. Francis of Assisi, like Frankie of Pittsburgh.
Right, St. Francis of Pittsburgh, which is what they thought about calling this movie for a brief moment of time.
And he tells her that the smell she smells accompanies the stigmata. He's all, guess what?
What you smell is a fart that I
So you ever seen those underwear with the little thing in the
patch.
butt? The little patch
it's like
in the
a
back?
little maxi pad that
Mine's
I wear in
Jasmine.
my underwear. Jasmine and Hyacinth. Mine is Stigmata.
No. But he's telling her that, like, this dude even only ever had 2 of the wounds.
Right. She was like, well, how many wounds did he get? And he was like, well, 2. Just 2.
And he picks up his film rolls, and it cuts to him sending these emails to his translator buddy.
Right.
And he's like, whoa, this is a problem.
He's
Don't
like,
send this.
you need
Stop.
to
Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it
sending me
down.
this shit. Yeah, like
wrong number. Wrong number.
Yeah.
And he's immediately trying to delete these
Prank
files.
color.
And he's like, why? Whoa, what's going on?
He was like, well, remember that thing I was telling you about with like them scrolls and the translation and all that, whatever? Like they think they found like the word of living Jesus.
Right. And it was written in Aramaic, and maybe his actual words and the shit you just sent me is the shit
This
that
is
was
what
in
they
this
were
thing.
talking about, and it's like this is what he wanted for the continuation
of his religion
of the
or whatever.
religion, and
He's
that's
like,
why they
"Forget
can't
you
have
saw
this
it.
get out.
Don't send me
because-
anything else.
I don't know you, prank caller.
And of course, Dario is upstairs and overhears a little bit of this, and he
This
little down immediately. Little
motherfucker.
hacker Dario,
I know,
and recovers all the fucking deleted files somehow that were on a floppy. Well, no, he was sending them by email.
girl, I don't know.
And he was saving
he
them to a
faxed
disk.
it with like he plugged the phone in. He like freaked the phone line in order to send this.
I was just watching Hackers
to the
earlier,
Vatican.
too. Oh my God, he got like serial killer to send
That's
some
what I'm
images
saying.
for him. So yeah, so he gets overheard and he goes down and he prints out one of these sheets and goes and immediately narks to the cardinal, of course.
Of course he does. He's like, oh, is it important? Like, motherfucker, you know it's important. Oh, is it important? Bitch, is it important? And like he would say in his fucking stupid accent boy, is it important?
And meanwhile, they're developing the photos of the text on the wall when they notice this face
Who
in
the
a
fuck
mirror.
Is this? We thought it was just you guys.
And
He
he's like, it was. But then he's like, oh, this looks like that dude that was dead
This
in
looks
that
like that
village.
dude.
Oh,
And, like,
shit.
Delmonico calls the most interesting man in the world, right? Is this what he's
I
like?
think so, yeah.
He's like, them gospels turned up in Pittsburgh of all places. Could you believe it?
And they're like, how? And it's like, Father Almeida. And he's
Yeah.
like, oh,
He
shit.
was
Father
like,
Houseman, or not, Cardinal Houseman's going to kill me.
Right.
So he starts packing. The most interesting man in the world starts packing.
Right. He gets his shit to get. So now Andrew goes down to Frankie's place, who has made it like a passion pit.
And she seems to feel fucking fine.
I mean, she's listening.
Her wrist holes
she's
are
totally
healing.
fine.
Her
She's listening to
forehead's
Massive
healing.
Attack.
She can
You
walk
want
with
a
no
beer?
problem.
No problem. She looks good.
But he goes to touch her face, and she does that. She turns her face like into his palm with that hungry look in her eye.
Seduction.
And he backs away and notices she's painted over all the Aramaic on the wall and is like, what?
What'd you paint over that for?
I'm sick of looking at it.
I just got bored.
And she starts trying to kiss him, and he stops her.
He do for a second though. He's like, I don't
Just
know,
a second.
little bit.
And she's like, what? You took a vow to be dead from the neck down?
Right?
I've seen the way you look at me.
Right, just because you're wearing the uniform. He's like, I ain't got nothing to do with the uniform. Like, you're demon possessed, bitch.
He tells her no again, and
So,
now her
hold
voice
up.
changes.
Is this because Father Almeida wants to make out with Andrew Kiernan?
Right? Why he getting horny for Andrew Kiernan?
No, I think we discussed this. It's because he was also a tormented man. So maybe he was like, it's like the demon that was all up in Father Almeida's butt.
Well, and he also, how he talks about people with the stigmata or tormented
Right,
and whatever.
so,
and
okay,
the closer it gets
okay,
to being the
alright,
end, the more
okay.
they like sin
Father
and whatever.
Almeida was like,
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
I mean,
he was
saw
kinky.
his window and he fucking
He
took
looked
it.
at fucking Andrew Kiernan and went,
Hey, I do
That's
too.
it.
I mean, who could blame
That's
him?
He's all, I've been
could
celibate my
blame-
whole life. I'm dead now.
No, he hasn't.
Sir?
My vow.
Blow me.
My vow is I fulfilled my promise.
Yeah, he's
While
done.
I was alive.
I'm in the afterlife now.
I was alive.
And guess what? I guess
I
I've been reborn as a 23-year-old hot chick, so we're about to
hey.
bone.
You think he got in the mirror and was just like,
Hell yeah. He's all, look at these titties jiggle. Look at these tic-tatas. And so he pushes, she pushes him
Right.
down. Her voice changes to a man like,
She
oh,
gets,
you don't
like,
tell me
demon
no.
strength or whatever, and like throws him.
She's
through
shoving him
shit
around,
in her
throwing him across
gigantic
the
fucking
room.
apartment.
Lockers. She has like a full set of high school lockers
Sure.
fall on him, which I'd never noticed
Sure,
before.
Sure.
And she's throwing him.
She kicks his fucking ass.
Yeah, water shooting out of the tub and the sink.
Gets even wetter in there.
She shoves him through the glass shower door, and she gets a knife from the kitchen. Ooh, in this voice.
Yes.
How's your faith these days, Father? I can't even do it. It's so deep.
Slashing up her arm.
It's like, fucking. This is where it gets like, whoa, I know.
Shit.
She
like tears into
this
her
is what
stitches.
you call God.
Oh, she starts fucking floating.
And the winds.
Well, this is what happens when you get possessed. You have to like do floating crucifixion pose thing.
So yeah, she falls to the bed, but the mattress just like flings out from underneath her, and she's just floating.
And then like
spins right side up.
Spins right side up, and it's like he's all whoa.
She's crying blood, and her wrists are bleeding, and
he's like coming up there like.
He just grabs her like a baby under her arms, and she
takes
just it's
her
over.
Off an invisible cross.
Yes,
he's just like, let me help you off of that.
And she's fine. She collapses into his arms.
Sure, he lays her down.
And so she's alive. She's asleep in the bed.
Right. The avenging priests assemble, and like Andrew finds that rosary, and he does a rosary, and she wakes up. She wants to snuggle.
So they just lay together face to face. But of course, Durning brings the goddamn Cardinal and Dario into her apartment.
These assholes that just come on in.
Just come on in.
Like they knock, but they're like,
they don't wait for an answer.
Go ahead and get in there. Like we need to kick this.
And they're like,
door
we're
down.
here to help.
Sure,
take her to the archdiocese straight away.
Right, it's fine. Kidnap her and take her to the fucking archdiocese.
And they go, and some nuns clean her up and attend to her, and he leaves that rosary by her bed.
Sure.
And Cardinal wants to know what's the writing on the wall, and he's like, the girl did it. Like,
well, he was like, why'd you paint over the? He's like, I didn't.
I didn't do it.
Like,
she
I don't know.
It.
Like, I don't know what it is. She doesn't know what it is.
And the Cardinal's
it's
like,
Aramaic. He's
why
like,
would you send this to anyone but me? Yeah, and how do you know it's
He's
Aramaic? He
you're
keeps
an
blowing
asshole.
his fucking shit.
Seriously.
Like, don't tell him Aramaic. You're not supposed to know what it is.
You know he's trying to get this fucking story out of you. And yeah, he's like, why would you send this to anybody but me? Because you're an asshole. That's why. Because you're a fucking asshole.
Because I knew if I did, you would shut this shit down, and I wanted to help this lady.
Seriously, you're a motherfucker. That's why I didn't fucking send it to you. You don't get to. So then they argue.
Yeah, I'm not leaving her alone. You told me to deal with her, and that's what I'm doing. She's in no condition to take on you or the church.
Right, and they're just like, they're gonna just keep her here indefinitely.
I mean, I would have been suspect already. I wouldn't have left.
Yeah,
but
no, I wouldn't have stayed there.
And he brings up finding them in bed together, and is like, look, you're just making her worse. You need to go to Father Durning's, and we'll take care of this.
We'll take care of her. She's in the care of the church.
And the Cardinal's like, and he brings up the fucking gospel minute or whatever, the thing, the disbanded group, and it's like, don't tell the Cardinal you know about this shit. What are you thinking?
Why would you say that?
Clearly
to him?
evil.
Is this the fucking Gospels Commission that you shut down?
You're not supposed to know.
You know it was him.
And you're fucking Delmonico to the fucking bone right now. Because that's who told you all this shit.
Seriously, who do you think?
They know who you talk to. Delmonico got
fucking murked.
Exactly. He was next on the list.
Right? Like, you obviously fucking asshole Houseman ain't got no problem fucking to
and
people.
Fucking most interesting man in the world ain't part of the church anymore, so he's fine. I
he's
mean, they'll
just
probably
out
be
there.
after him, but he's not.
Well, I mean, like, but he
right
don't give a
there.
shit. He looks like he could take up.
Right?
Like, he can't handle his own shit. I bet you he could.
So he shows up to talk to Kiernan and explain to him, look, this is maybe the most significant religious text ever found.
Right.
Like, this is found like where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found.
This is the Dead Sea Scrolls. Like, this is the whole situation. Like, this is the living word of Jesus.
And it could destroy the authority of the modern church.
That's why they don't want it getting out.
And so once we gave our initial conclusions, we were ordered to stop. And one dude, Almeida fled.
Right.
And kept up working.
Yes.
And so he's like, oh, they're waiting to hear from Almeida. And
he's like, oh,
Kieran's
he died.
Like, oh, he dead though.
I saw him laying in a coffin. Yeah, but he did though. I say he did.
And Petrocelli's like, oh shit, it's over then.
He's like, well, that's why. He goes, but he looks at the picture. He's like, why is he wearing gloves though? Mm-hmm. He was like, oh, he got the
stigmata.
So he's like, that's it.
He's like, that's why she has it. She's his messenger.
She's the messenger.
So cut to Houseman prepping for some sort of religious ritual.
Right.
And Frankie picking up the rosary and wrapping it around her hand. And Andrew is suddenly racing back in the rain.
Exactly. Because now they go in there. They're like preparing to exorcise.
They're doing an exorcism.
Yes.
And she starts cursing at them in a man's voice in another language. Shit starts shaking.
Right.
The fire in the fireplace is getting all big.
Yeah.
Behold your servant,
and, like,
dripping with blood.
The first thing he says to her is like, cast out the spirit of lust. Like, is that why? Because she's a skank?
I don't know. Maybe
why would you
maybe
say
it's
that
some sort of
first?
standard exorcism
That's where
prayer.
they start there. That's the easiest one.
We know you're a whore.
We know you a whore.
Get it out.
I could tell by your hair.
Maybe they were going to take her to the doctor next to get rid of her hysteria, so he could masturbate her on the fucking doctor table.
Gross.
There was an episode of Another Period, which is like that comedy.
Yeah.
But where they like the mom and the sisters all schedule their hysteria appointments like with pleasure, where they're like, they go line up, and there's like a little box over their junk, and they just like pull up to the dock. Like,
I'm feeling really
it's hysterical
right now.
Yeah. Oh, I need another one.
My ovaries are jangling. Going on a walkabout.
So Houseman kicks everyone. So it starts getting crazy.
Right. Shit's all fucking
her voice
wild.
changed, and nuns can't hold her down. And Houseman's like, get out, get out.
Right.
He's
throws
just
her,
choking
and then,
her
like,
out.
He goes to fuck her up. Like, this foul bastard. He's like strangling her. He's going to kill her.
Hard. Hard.
So Andrew gets there right in the nick. He gets in there. He runs up there, and he's like, and Dario's bitch ass like, oh no, don't go in there.
Even though he was trying to stop him too, he was like, whoa, now Houseman, what the hell?
Laid him out. Well, he tried to stop Houseman, but he also tries to stop Andrew,
right,
from going in.
He
there.
doesn't
like, no,
know what side he's on. So he goes in, Kiernan goes in, and the flames are fucking shooting out of the fireplace, engulfing the room.
On fucking bed, on fucking fire.
And he gets Houseman off, and he's like, I won't let you destroy the church. And he's like, oh, I promise you, you spent your last days in the church.
Like, they're fighting all through the hallway, and then he just lets him go.
Yeah, well, he kind of he bounces him off a few walls and shit, but yeah.
I mean, where's he going to go? But like, he just lets him go back in there without a fight.
Yeah.
Did he knock them out? Did he knock them both out?
I don't know. So she's sitting up in bed amongst the flames, and he asks for the stigmata to be given for him to be the messenger.
Right. Let me be the messenger. Give me your wisdom.
And they're like, you have no faith.
Yes.
You're not going to be a good messenger. So he walks through the flames to prove his faith.
This is where I questioned whether or not like those two movies had been filmed like close by or concurrently.
Because he's in the fire.
There was like a whole fire thing in a church or whatever, like that happened in End of Days.
Okay.
Too, where
so
he
he's
was
like, I don't know where I am
right now.
So he calls upon Father Almeida to release this woman and not let her come to harm.
Right.
And
there's doves and shit. There's always doves and shit.
And she's writhing. She feels all the wounds again. And then she falls back on the bed and he goes through the flames and picks her up. And all the flames sucks back into the walls like it never happened.
Like it's totally fine.
And he carries her out and sits her in his lap on a bench.
He carries her like a little baby.
And she's all healed.
Like a little baby. And she's totally fine. And he watches her Fabienne out there in the morning fog.
Oh, yeah. She gives him a little kiss and then goes and stares at shit and lets birds land on her hand.
Been struck dumb?
And she looks like one of the statues in this garden because she's got the sheet all on her and stuff.
On or whatever with the birds and whatnot.
So sometime later, we never see Frankie again, but sometime later, back at the statue that cries
thought
blood.
They were going to date.
I know. He's still a priest? What the hell? And he goes back to this church and he pulls open a board in the floor and finds the original scroll. Yeah, and nobody's in there anymore.
No, they're like,
they're over it.
This. Well, he looks at the statue and he sees the little bird thing. And then he lifts the stone. He cracks a piece of wood and lifts the stone, and there he finds
the scroll, the original copy. Which, damn, Father Almeida got out with the original even, not even Xeroxes?
No.
Way to go.
When he was in Belo Quinto, did they have a Kinko's? I don't know if they did.
So he's reading it, and it's all the things she was writing and whatever. Turn a stone, I'll be there, blah, blah. And it says, whoever discovered the meanings of these sayings will not taste death. So he's immortal now?
But why did why did what's his tits die?
Yeah, all those dudes knew the meaning of it. The meaning of it is the church is dumb.
Well, yeah, like
you don't need a building.
Not the thing. You don't need the whole thing.
That's not what God is about or what Jesus is about.
God
you
is
find me
you.
anywhere.
I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere. So yeah, but then why did? Because if Father Almeida was the one that took off with that shit because he discovered what it was,
I'm sure
he died.
And like the meaning wasn't that hard to decipher. As long as you could read Aramaic, the reading was pretty clear. The meaning,
right?
Like it was all right there.
I guess that's why they couldn't have that because then you couldn't like hate people based on.
I don't know, man.
I said love everybody, you fucking assholes.
So it closes with the text on the screen that says, in 1945, a scroll was discovered in Nag Hammadi, which is described as the secret sayings of the living Jesus. Mm-hmm. The scroll of the Gospel of St. Thomas has been claimed by scholars around the world to be the closest record we have of the words of the historical Jesus. Oh. The Vatican refuses to recognize this gospel and has described it as heresy. So this movie doomed us to still think we're getting a loft apartment, but also to believe all. I don't
know. Yeah, sure. That sounds good to me.
That scroll exists. Sure. I don't know if it does. Don't care. Exists to me.
Care. I love a church horror, a Catholic horror movie. Yeah. And I'm excited about that Omen movie that snuck up on me. I was telling her, do you know what comes out next month?
Yeah, I saw the
Wild.
preview for it.
Wild. I'll watch anything Omen, Exorcist, Catholic Church, Possession. Give it to me. Give it to me. I love it. Yeah. I love it. No matter how bad it is.
Not bad, I have to say.
I hope not. I hope not. We'll see, because Footface was in that last one, which I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I went to see it on 666.
Ooh.
When that Omen remake or whatever came out, I went to see it on.
Nice.
The day it came out.
We have one message.
Ooh.
But it's from Spain.
El Messengero? Oh.
No, don't worry.
It's non-importante.
I'm sorry, Spain.
I'm kidding.
But so he had mentioned that, so he didn't get a chance to make us an International Women's Day graphic, because I think last year he made us a thing. So he's like, well, I didn't have a chance, but I think that it would go something along the lines of, Happy International Women's Day. Yous broads deserve a day that acknowledges you dames. Y'all is cool and tolerate my nonsense, and that's what I appreciates about yous. Thanks, toots. XOXO Spade. With some tasteful, clever imagery. And then he says, y'all is lucky, though. Y'all got a day for worldwide acknowledgement. It wasn't like that for me. No, ma'am. I was just a small town girl that moved to the big city with bigger dreams. Just to find out the only way to make it in the big city is to shake it. So that's what I did. Shake it, shake it, shake it.
Just a steel town girl on a Saturday night.
Thank you, Spade.
Thank you, Spade.
And if you want us to read a message from you, we got all kinds of ways for you to do it. You can leave your own voicemail at 702-720-DOOM.
You can text that number.
702-720-3666. You can call us you can call us somebody else. You can call us Harvey Firestein, whoever you want to call us.
Cool. It's cool.
You can send an email to doomgenerationpodcast@gmail.com. You can join our Patreon at patreon.com/doomgeneration.
Yep.
And don't forget, our live should be tomorrow, right? After this comes out. Or no, tonight. It should be tonight.
Tonight.
Because it's the last one in March, right?
Whoa. Yes, it will be tonight.
If you've missed it, you got to make it right. Tonight.
Whoa. Yes, bitch. I got a fucking tingle.
And on that note,
we'll talk to you next time.
Later, Doomers.